It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. Let go of the Tuesday. Just let it go. It's Wednesday already. Gary, how are you?
It's go time.
It's go time.
It's
cupcake.
It is go time. President Biden said he was more physically able to do the job of president than anyone.
I told you. What did I say the other day? Then he's going to challenge everybody to a one-handed push-up contest?
Yep.
There it is.
He said, I can do this better than anybody you know. He's talking to a Time magazine reporter. You're looking at me. I can take you, too. Mandelbaum.
Go time.
It's go time.
Starts throwing a series of those really soft punches.
What, you think you can take my father?
Oh, my gosh.
Who are you? I'm his father. That's a Seinfeld reference for people that don't know. Mm-hmm. Oh, my gosh. The great Lloyd Bridges.
Yeah.
Oh,
comedy
man.
Greatness.
That was just.
And
you think you can take me?
Yeah, I can take you.
What? You think you're the number one dad? Remember that? Oh, my God. Biden is becoming a parody of himself and Izzy Mandelbaum.
Yeah, he really is. He really is. I mean, it's just bad. And then the Wall Street Journal story that hit, which is not really a new story. It's kind of a new take on it. And that is those behind the scenes are saying, yeah, he's losing it.
Yeah.
The degradation is happening pretty clearly. And it's impossible to be in the room with him and not notice it.
You know, we were looking at it was last week or a couple of weeks ago, and it was just we were looking for things he said in the past. And we found some stuff from 2020, and we went, oh, my God. You can see you can see the loss of his cognitive and physical abilities.
Yeah.
When you compare it to 2020, it is really noticeable. And, you know, both of our dads are older. Mm-hmm. My dad, 98 years old. My dad has a clearer mind than Joe Biden.
My dad just turned 91. Dealing with the health issues of a 91-year-old, physically, a number of things that he can't do any longer, but mentally, he's so spot on. I mean, we still, every time we talk, we have our own little talk show.
Same with me.
And I'm grateful, and Biden is a very. I think I've said this on the air. If not, here it goes. He's a very old 81-year-old. My dad's 91. Biden is, I mean, his mind sometimes is like someone who is well over 100. And he moves that way, too.
Well, you know, my father has, the stenosis of the spine, so he's bent over, so he walks slow, and now... You know, he's had a walker for the last couple of years. Really, until my dad was about 94, 95, I don't think he had a walker.
Right.
Even then, the stenosis just got too bad, so he has the walker.
Yeah.
I believe, I know he went out on Memorial Day. He was out at a fly-in breakfast.
Yeah.
At Akron Airport at Akron, New York.
Yeah.
As people fly in and everything else, there's a bunch of planes there. That's the place that they did. If you saw, I'm sure many people did not, A Quiet Place 2, the scene going through the villages where whatever they are, the ant-like creatures falling on the bus and everything else.
Right.
That's downtown Akron. There's an airport right there.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And so he was in a wheelchair because wheel him around the airport. He cannot. Yeah, right. He can't walk. My father can't walk 1,000 feet.
Right.
But he's 98. Think about that. 17 years older than Biden at this point. But his mind, and we're not saying this to brag in any way about our fathers. It's just you're hyper aware when you talk to your parents. You're hyper aware when they get older as to whether they're, having a loss of cognitive abilities. I thought my father would. This is before he got his pacemaker, and before he got his pacemaker, his pulse was down to 40 beats a minute, and now it's 80.
Yeah,
and you see the physical and mental difference in getting, because if it's beating twice as fast, you're at least getting, probably close to twice the blood, which means twice the oxygen, twice the nutrients, everything to your cells in your body, and you can see the difference. It's like, oh, wow.
Yeah,
I'm glad you made the right decision to get the pacemaker. But like the last couple of days, I could not really tell my dad's, I really couldn't observe or analyze his cognitive abilities because he was too busy doing other things to talk to me. I felt like George Costanza when his parents said, "Look, we're done with you.
Yeah,
Go live your life." But my father was involved in so many different things. I got this paperwork. I got this insurance. I've got this. And I sit back and I get off the phone. I'm like, God, that's amazing. He's 98.
Yeah, I called my dad. It was just a matter of days ago on his 91st birthday. And we were talking for a little bit, but you could tell he was anxious to get off the phone. One of my brothers was there with him. He had stuff going on. He had things to do. I remember when my dad, who drove a truck after his military career. And I remember when he said to me, I remember exactly where we were standing. We were standing in the driveway of the house he lives in now. And he said to me, I'm getting to where I don't trust my instincts on the road. And so I think it's, time to go into full-time retirement. And that was decades ago. And you think to yourself, okay, at what age can you do the job? You think about people like a Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett's mind seemingly is fine well into his 90s. Your father, same thing, my dad. And so there are jobs that can be done that don't require a lot of physical exertion throughout the day. And there are things, other jobs that can't. There is no job that's more important than President of the United States, the leader of the free world. And it's imperative that as a nation, if those closest to him aren't going to be honest about his health, then the American people are ultimately going to judge whether he's too old for the job or not. The Wall Street Journal article talking about, the fact that he's getting worse made the point that Trump is only 3.5 years younger, but also at times there were complaints that he didn't remember things correctly. And I think for Trump, it's more that he's got so much going on that he misplaces something or whatever. But we all go through those forgetful moments. What's going on, anything going on with Trump is nothing like what's going on with Joe Biden.
Well, it happens to us once in a while. But there's so much with the amount of material we go through, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, what was that reference that we made 5 weeks ago at 4:32 a.m.? Or sometimes it's the absolute obvious thing where we can't remember a name or something like that.
Right.
But you're okay because you're processing thousands of other thoughts extremely quickly, and it's like, okay, you're going to forget it. I always go back. I just think it's like for me and you, I think it's like the Married with Children thing where Kelly was in the sports. Was in the sports TV show, and they had filled her brain to the maximum, and so if it was like if you put any other thought in, she would lose the ability to answer a question for the sports TV show, and that's exactly what happened. So she didn't win. The prize, and Al was just furious, but she had all these things because her mind was limited. That's what I don't think that's the thing. In fact, I think that as you get older and you have so many files, and I think I've seen some research on this, that as you get older, as long as you're not suffering from dementia or whatever, that you actually can have your mind seemingly to other people be quicker because you've got all these files stored in and all this information from all the experience you have in your life. And so you can just rattle things off.
Yeah.
And
I did something. I did an event. There was an interview. A magazine did an interview with me for the event for Shell Super Rigs last week. And at the end, the reporter said, wow, you recalled all that stuff from over 24 years being part of this event and the whole thing. And it's just kind of as you get older, you store that stuff up. I mean, there are things you're going to remember. And then I can't remember the names of my 8 grandchildren, which is why I named them 1 through 8. But when you're called on to lead, and at any moment, every moment is a critical moment, and you're on the world stage all the time, it's obviously, and we all know this, but we have to say it because his people aren't saying it. It's critical that your mind be sharp.
Well, we believe they're lying.
And they are. And I do believe they're
right. And any Democrat, I mean, it got to the point of being comical, where it was like, no. The problem with Biden is the young people can't keep up with him. He is so energetic. We know that's a line of crap. Everybody knows. Yeah. Every Democrat listening right now knows that's a line of crap.
Yeah.
But they're the ones, it's his family and his aides keeping him there. But the article, just to for a little bit here, when President Biden met with congressional leaders in the West Wing in January to negotiate a Ukraine funding deal, he spoke so softly at times that some participants struggled to hear him, including to 5 people familiar with the meeting. He read from notes to make obvious points, paused for extended periods, and sometimes closed his eyes for so long that some in the room wondered whether he had tuned out. In February, on a one-on-one chat in the Oval Office with House Speaker Mike Johnson, the president said a recent policy change by his administration that jeopardizes some big energy projects was just a study, according to 6 people told at the time about what Johnson said had happened. Johnson worried the president's memory had slipped about the details of his own policy. Last year when Biden was negotiating with House Republicans to lift the debt ceiling, his demeanor and command of details seemed to shift from one day to another, according to House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. If you remember that one, Kevin McCarthy actually talked about that one. I used to meet with him when he was vice president. I'd go to his house. He's not the same person. And if you go back and look at stuff from 2020, you see
side by side, it's clear.
You see the incredible decline. The 81-year-old Biden is the oldest person to hold the presidency. His age and cognitive fitness have become major issues in his campaign for a second term. Some who have worked with him, however, including Democrats and some who have known him back to his time as vice president, describe the president who appears slower now, someone who has both good moments and bad ones, as we know. Now, publicly, what they say is, oh, no, he is the most energetic guy. I mean, I don't know if jumping the shark is the correct analogy to have for it, but everyone knows that when they say that, it's not believable.
Right. Yeah, that's it. And we've talked about this. You're trying to tell us what we see isn't what we see.
The White House dismissed many of the accounts, saying it was motivated by partisan politics. Congressional Republicans, foreign leaders, and nonpartisan national security experts have made it clear in their own words that President Biden is a savvy and effective leader who has a deep record of legislative accomplishments. Now in 2024, House Republicans are making false claims as a political tactic that flatly contradict previous statements made by themselves and their colleagues. In the Wall Street Journal article, they write in there, the writers, this article is based on interviews with more than 45 people over several months. The interviews were with Republicans and Democrats who either participated in meetings with Biden or were briefed on them, including administration officials and other Democrats who found no fault in the president's handling of the meetings. Most of those who said Biden performed poorly were Republicans, but some Democrats said he showed his age in several of the exchanges. And we know those Democrats that did that, they don't want him running. Well, they were hoping early on, and now they view it. Look, we know the Democrats. Just watch some of the hearings over the last couple of days and listen to the president. He's a pathological liar, as we all know. The White House kept close tabs on some of the Wall Street Journal's interviews with Democratic lawmakers after the offices of several Democrats shared with the White House either a recording or an interview or details about what was asked. Some of those lawmakers spoke to the Journal a second time and then once again emphasized Biden's strengths. They just, said, I should give you a call back, said Representative Gregory Meeks, a New York Democrat, referring to the White House. Bates, a White House. So anyone that the Wall Street Journal interviewed, any Democrat, the White House wanted to know and then sent them back for a second interview. The White House, you need to make sure you clarify that the president is just, vivacious. And it's like, what a load of crap.
Yeah, it's garbage. They're, again, trying to paint a picture of the reality that we see as something that is, again, a fantasy. If you think that everything is fine and that, but, two things, his defiant nature and also his insistence on lying over and over again. And then you mix in whatever his cognitive issues are, and then all of a sudden it becomes these bizarre lies that recycle over and over again, even though they've been proven to be false.
Yeah, he doesn't remember.
And he doesn't remember any of it. And that's exactly what happens.
Or he's a pathological liar and doesn't care.
I think
it's one or the other.
I think
both.
It's both. I think it's over time you convince, if you're a pathological liar, you convince yourself that it's the truth. And so that's his truth. And he believes that he's repeating lies that have been proven false over and over again because of whatever's going on with him.
866-90 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Every driver knows the cost of replacing tires is a major expense. What if you could save on tire costs without sacrificing performance or safety? Consider retreads, a sustainable, cost-effective way to rack up your miles. When talking retreads, sometimes there's worry when it comes to wear. But just because the tread is worn on a tire doesn't mean the casing is. Quality casings can far outlive their original tread. And once they're on your vehicle, the tread on a retread can last just as long or longer than the tread on a new tire. The key to preserving casings, whether new or retreaded, is regular tire maintenance checks.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. When we talk about the piece in the Wall Street Journal that talks about the president's cognitive problems, and that inside the White House, they know it. They know what's going on. They're lying about it, but they know what's going on. But understand that the Wall Street Journal news division is not conservative like the editorial page. There was a big to-do about that a couple of years ago where the news department actually went to the management saying, they weren't happy with the editorials being done by the editorial department, which is much more conservative. And so when they come out and they, in the article, in the first couple of paragraphs, well, former President Donald Trump, who's 77, is 3.5 years younger than Biden, has also faced questions about his mental acuity. No, if he makes a mistake or something like that, and it says both candidates have been captured repeatedly on camera slipping up on facts.
No.
Democrats, every one of them, whether they're 20 years old, whether they're in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, if that's the standard of judgment of your mental acuity, then
nobody qualifies.
Right. Yeah. And so there is no comparison.
No. Night and day.
No comparison between Trump and Biden.
When I read that in the Wall Street Journal, the only thing that hit me is, wow, he's only 3.5 years younger. Trump is a much younger, where he is at his age in his late 70s than Biden is at 81. There is a very clear difference.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We got so much to cover today, but we called this one, didn't we?
Yeah.
What did we say yesterday? What's the first thing that's going to come out of Biden's mouth when he starts talking about the border? And the thing is, there's the signs are behind him. I mean, everybody's laughing. Even Democrats, you're laughing. You know he doesn't want to secure the border.
No.
You know it. But it says President Joe Biden securing our border. Two big signs.
Yeah.
But here's what he said, and we called this one. If you were listening yesterday, you know we did.
I've come here today to do what the Republicans in Congress refuse to do. Take the necessary steps to secure our border.
That is so laughable. The arsonist running out after setting the house on fire in the back, runs out front. I got it! Takes a hose and puts the fire out. By the way, doesn't actually put the fire out.
No, just pretends.
Yeah, pretends he's put the fire out.
And let's go to the guy who's covered the border more than anyone here in the last couple of years, who I have never seen anyone on the left criticize any of his facts, and it's Bill Maloogian.
Yeah.
Fox LA, and I guess now he works for, Fox News. But originally was with Fox LA, was he not?
Yeah.
And here he is analyzing this.
So reading this executive order, what I can say is in no way should it be described as shutting down the border, and I'll explain why. There are several exceptions to this executive order he's going to be announcing. Number one, this is not going to stop or slow the up to 1,500 migrants per day who are being released into the country by showing up at a CBP port of entry with an appointment on a cell phone app called CBP One. It's 1,000 to 1,500 every day, and then they're released into the country. This executive order does not touch that. That is exempted. It also exempts the controversial program where up to 30,000 migrants per month are flying directly into the United States from foreign countries via a mass parole program the Biden administration has put in place. That's for migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. He's brought in over 450,000 people into the country that way so far. This executive order also does not touch that. So we are talking thousands of people coming into the country every single day that is left completely alone. What does the order? Well, excuse me, there's one more exception as well. Unaccompanied children and minors are not touched by this executive order. So that's going to raise concerns about possible child trafficking. The cartels will essentially be able to market to migrants and say, hey, give us your children. We'll get them across the border to the United States. We'll get them to the federal government. Pay us money. The United States isn't going to deport them. We'll get them across the border. The U.S. government will then get them wherever you want in the United States. That's exactly what's happening right now. There are other exceptions as well. Migrants are still able to claim fear once.
And it ended there. I don't have the long form of it, but as I've seen the figure now, at least 1.8 million.
Yeah, that's what I saw. Close to 2 million.
Yeah, close to 2 million a year. So he is not securing the border.
No.
It's
not anywhere close. This is not a serious move. This is him trying to flex here, and it's laughable.
Well, no, what he has done is he's created valet illegal immigration.
Yeah. It's
like you've got your give me your keys. We're going to take you where you wish to go.
Something I said the other day. You show up at the border, and if you come to a border crossing and you're playing by the way, these are not rules that were intended to be in place. The Department of Homeland Security, this administration, have broken all the rules, put in place their own rules when it comes to asylum. So just do it the way we ask you to do it, and there won't be a problem.
Right.
That's what has happened. The moment I saw this announced the other day, I said to myself, no, they're just redirecting people.
Right.
That's all they're doing.
Right.
Plus, it's not going to change anything.
Plus the 2,500 at the border per day.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus,
so
it's
because we're at well over just the first two things he mentioned, 80,000 a month.
Oh yeah.
So 80,000 a month, as we all know, is enough. So we're talking 5,000 at least allowed to come into the country. Not even 5,000, which I believe they have come up with, close to the 1.8, and that's not inclusive. That wasn't including the, the children exemption, or if you come in and claim fear.
Right.
And so this is all BS.
Right.
They're lying to you. But again, this is where we've talked about Democrats. Democrats believe that the people that vote for them or will consider voting for them are complete morons and idiots, and they can lie any way to them, and they will accept it. We'll see whether that's the case this November.
You can, my gosh, fear. Who can't claim fear?
Yeah. I thought the best yesterday was after, and we'll get to both the Republicans in the House and Senate speaking on this, but Senator Joni Ernst got caught in a hot mic walking away.
Oops.
Saying, just bottom line, never trust a man whose uncle was eaten by cannibals. Here we go. I'm not making this up. Here
yeah.
Bottom line, never trust a man whose uncle was eaten by cannibals.
I'm sorry. That made my day.
Yeah. That's funny.
Never trust a man whose uncle was eaten by cannibals. Oh, my God.
Fair point. Yeah, that's funny.
I got to find this full audio cut. I've searched for it, and I can't find it. Now, I'm assuming this was Cavuto from yesterday, and Mayorkas was on with him. And listen to this, okay? But I don't have, the clips only, let me see, that I found was only 22 seconds long. I've been searching for the entire show because I'd like to hear the whole interview to see if he did what he did with Jared Bernstein a couple of weeks ago, which is, you're not answering my question. You're not answering my question. But here it is.
But nevertheless, you had said, and the president said a number of times, sir, that the border already was secure. So obviously it's not.
Oh, Neil, we've been talking about strengthening the security of the border since day one.
Okay, and then it ends. I never get to find out whether he had a follow-up to that question.
Yeah, right.
So I'm going to go back and try to check that one. But again, we can't answer the question.
No.
But that's where you pound him.
Yeah.
That's where you pound him over and over again. What was it that I was thinking about that yesterday, too? Oh, I'll get the audio here. So much going through my mind. It was Gaetz going after Merrick Garland, and he let him off the hook. He didn't answer the question twice, and he changed the topic. I'm like, no, don't do that. Pound on them.
Look, you only get that one opportunity. You may only get that one opportunity when you have them, and you absolutely have to stay on them until you get the answer you want. You have to phrase it over and over again.
Yeah,
and that's again, I don't know. It's
okay. Yeah, it was the one where he was saying, well, will the Biden Department of Justice provide all the documents between the Biden Department of Justice, Alvin Bragg's office, Fonnie Willis's office, and Attorney General James's office of New York, and he wouldn't answer he was basically not answering the question, saying, well, those are independent organizations. He goes, I'm not talking about them being independent organizations. Did you communicate with them? Well, they're independent. He just wouldn't answer the question, wouldn't address the question. And then Gaetz, I'll get the full audio coming up. Then Gaetz just moved on to another topic. And I'm like, no, make him answer the question and say, sir, why are you afraid to answer? Republicans still need to be harder on somebody like Garland who won't answer the questions at all. I mean, I'm not saying that they weren't hard, but they need to sit there and say, sir, stop wasting my time.
Well, and that's where you punch them from the other side. You say, I believe you did. I believe I believe your department communicated. I believe you were directly involved.
Right. And I believe by you not answering it, you're lying.
Right. Because if the answer was no, you would say no right away.
Right.
So the answer's not no, it's yes.
And I don't know at times. I mean, sometimes it's so obvious what Republicans should do and they fail to do it.
Yeah.
And I'll have that audio coming up a little bit later on. And it just gets frustrating. It's like, because in the beginning, it's like, oh, yeah, okay, wow, all right, here we go. This is going to be good. And it's like, you back off. It's like, there's no reason to back off. You do it Neil Cavuto did. You asked them 4, 5, 6 times, and then you accuse them by you not answering this.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you didn't communicate, you'd tell us.
Right.
Oh.
If the answer were no, you would have said no.
It was, because I had heard it and I was looking in the conservative media for it, the whole thing on the her transcript, that they actually changed some of the dialogues and added ands and buts and everything else for the president.
Right.
And I think it was Representative Biggs who he kept hitting him on it, and I'm waiting for Garland to come and say, no, that didn't happen, that didn't happen, that didn't happen.
Right.
So we know now the Department of Justice changed the transcript of her and Biden.
Right.
And added ands and buts and whatever, because you know Garland, if that wasn't true, he would have said
in front of it.
Biggs hit him twice on it.
Yep.
He didn't.
Right. Well,
Wow.
and I suspect that's why the GOP wanted it. That's why they wanted the audio. That's why they wanted the recording, because they knew it had been changed. Something had been altered. Something was wrong. Something wasn't right. And also double check Her's assessment of Biden's mental acuity.
Yeah, exactly.
Was he soft walking it? Because it sounded like he was. As bad as his assessment was, according to the liberal media, I think actually the situation, the reality was much worse.
You know the other thing, too? And I'm not saying this in an insulting way. Merrick Garland almost is as bad as Biden. He comes off as a feeble old man.
Yeah. Yeah, he does.
He's 71, Eric.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's just a few years older than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw him, I had to look it up. I'm like, is he near 80 or is he over 80?
Yeah.
I had no idea. I had checked. He's 71.
There was a time that he was, and I forget what it was, what he was speaking on, and this goes back a ways, and I wondered if he had been under the weather or something, because he sounded weak. Physically, he sounded weak. Mentally, he sounded weak. And we've seen him, like when he finally came to the podium after the raid on Mar-a-Lago. Hey, that was all me. We've seen him when he comes out to the podium.
Right.
But when he's sitting up there and he's being questioned, he comes off as very weak and feeble.
Yeah.
For his age.
Yeah, he did. Yes.
Yeah.
I guess it's only for me, where my age is, and this would be exclusive to me, that basically, the vitality and virility of a 22-year-old.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, you talking about you? Well, no, I mean, you measure those things and you're waiting for, because you think your experience, we talked about it earlier. Sometimes, when you're older and you've seen more things and then people go, well, how do you know that? How do you remember all that? I've just been around for a minute. But that experience, especially in any specific role, then all of a sudden you can conjure up a series of answers and everything else. We also look at your conviction, right, politically. And whether it's Merrick Garland, because, look, that's a highly political role. He's somebody who is serving the president, autonomy, right. Mm-hmm. This is something where you look at them and you look for that conviction in those answers, which is why, going back to the former FBI director, Comey, it was just weird. His answers were weird. He just came off as creepy and weird. You look for certain things. You listen for certain language for them to use in that role. And Comey was weird, and Merrick Garland just sounds weak.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up on the top of the hour, Merrick Garland, before the House yesterday. We'll get to some of the back and forth that went on. Some of it really pretty good. Tulsi Gabbard talks about Fauci lying to Congress again. That was one of the things, too, that was brought up. Are the Republicans going to charge him with perjury before Congress on a couple of things that he said 2 days ago? So that is coming up. Interesting. We didn't get a chance to talk about it, but the Hunter Biden trial that's going on. You see, Turley said he can't believe. He goes, "This is a slam dunk with the evidence." You have him slam dunk without question that the reason that they won't make a deal on this is because they believe that no Biden can be convicted in Delaware.
Yeah.
Jury nullification is what they're hoping for.
Right.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Hello. All right, Merrick Garland, before the House yesterday, I want to play this. This is what I referred to earlier. This is Matt Gaetz going to the Attorney General. I was reading the Federalist, the Federalist yesterday, or 2 days ago, I think it was, laid out the relationship between the Department of Justice and the local and state prosecutions of Trump. They laid it out. And so that was brought up to Merrick Garland, and one of his first statements was, these are all conspiracy theories. All these allegations are conspiracy theories. By the way, they're not, but that's what he said. So here was Gaetz' response to him. Here we go.
For 5 minutes. Attorney General, you've told us that it's a dangerous conspiracy theory to allege that the Department of Justice is communicating with these state and local prosecutions against Trump. You can clear it all up for us right now. Will the Department of Justice provide to the committee all documents, all correspondence between the department and Alvin Bragg's office and Fonnie Willis' office and Letitia James's office?
The offices you're referring to are independent offices of state.
I get that. The question is whether or not you will provide all of your documents and correspondence. That's the question. I don't need a history lesson.
Well, I'm going to say again, we do not control those offices. They make their own decisions.
The question is whether you communicate with them, not whether you control them. Do you communicate with them, and will you provide those communications?
You make a request. We'll refer it to our Office of Legislative Affairs.
But see, here's the thing. You come in here and you lodge this attack that it's a conspiracy theory, that there is coordinated lawfare against Trump. And then when we say, fine, just give us the documents, give us the correspondence, and then if it's a conspiracy theory, that will be evident. But when you say, well, we'll take your request, and then we'll sort of work it through the DOJ's accommodation process, then you're actually advancing the very dangerous conspiracy theory that you're concerned about. Now, you were a judge.
Okay, that's where he changed topic. He should not have changed topics. Mm-hmm. He should have gone right at him. So I'm asking you again, number one, will you provide us with the information, and will you tell us if you've communicated with these organizations concerning, the prosecution of Trump? You ask those two questions. When he won't answer it, you go after him again. You go after him again. You go after him again.
That should have been a standalone question. Did your office communicate about the prosecution of Trump?
Right.
Yes or no?
Right. See, he won't answer the question.
That should have been a standalone question that you don't let go.
And what we've seen over the last couple of days is now Democrats, their new defense point is, if you ask questions, then any threats to those people in public office are your fault. That the asking of questions is wrong. Now, it's bizarre, but I'm not surprised that they're doing it. But when you come in and you say, this is a conspiracy theory, and then you won't answer the question, well, then you're advancing the conspiracy theory.
Right.
You could clear it up.
Right.
You're attacking Republicans saying something. They're like, okay, then did you not communicate with them? Will you answer that under oath?
Right. Because if you say it's all a conspiracy theory, you're saying you didn't communicate with them. Yes or no, did you communicate with them?
Yeah. And so when he says, can we see the correspondence? By the way, through that, I get that Merrick Garland is saying, yes, they communicated with them. We just need to find out whether we can accommodate you on those communications, which is huge.
Yeah.
Because the communication, he's asking whether you communicated with them.
Because if the answer
Trump
were
case.
no, we didn't communicate with them, then he would have said we didn't communicate with them, and there's nothing to provide you because there are no communications.
Right. Now let's get to Representative Biggs calling out Merrick Garland for the Department of Justice editing the Biden tapes with Special Counsel Hur. Here we go. All right.
Mr. Attorney General, the reality is Mr. Hur, Special Counsel Hur, found that then former Vice President, President Biden, had retained and disclosed classified information. Isn't that true?
Mr. Hur has presented a long report.
Isn't that true? I mean, come on. I'm practically quoting right from it. You wouldn't disagree with that
I won't disagree
assessment?
I'm not going to comment on his report. He sets forth. I appointed him to investigate the allegations about classified documents.
So the reason that we end up talking over you is because a simple question like that goes unanswered. You're non-responsive. You're non-responsive to the question. Because that is what Mr. Hur found. And then he also found, and you're not going to like this because I'm going to quote from it. From this, he basically says here that he found Mr. Biden to be sympathetic and here he is, a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. And so he made a prosecutorial decision that he wasn't going to prosecute. Are you going to dispute that? You're not disputing that, are you?
Mr. Hur's report.
Okay, you're going to say it stands on its own. Okay, so it stands on its own. No, because you're not intent on answering. You want to be non-responsive. You want to filibuster.
I'd like to answer your question.
Do you dispute that? So let's just face it. Mr. Biden has not been prosecuted, correct?
That's correct.
And the rationale given by Mr. Hur is because he was a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory, and he thought the jury would have sympathy towards Mr. Biden.
That was one of a long list of reasons that Mr. Hur gave for his decision.
Give me one more reason.
He found that, look, I don't want to get into a discussion about this, but I will say one of them was that the president was completely cooperative in this matter.
That's the reason, huh? Okay, all right.
You asked me one of the reasons. That was one of the reasons.
The issue that we have here, you don't want to give us the audio tape. You don't want us to have the recording. But ultimately, the issue is whether the transcript actually supports the special counsel's determination. Now, your office has basically pled two things in court. Claiming, number one, executive privilege, and number two, this kind of interesting novel approach saying deep fakes, AI. Right. Did they consult, did your staffer who filed that, did they consult with you about the deep fake AI rationale for not providing the audio to us?
You're mischaracterizing the filing. That was one of a substantial number of arguments made in a Freedom of Information.
Did they consult with you specifically about that idea, that notion where they were going to say something like, quote, this is from the pleading, the passage of time and advancements in audio artificial intelligence and deepfake technologies only amplify concerns about malicious manipulation of audio files, close quote. Did they consult with you about that provision?
I'm not going to talk about internal department deliberations. That was one of a large number of explanations in the document you're talking about.
And I'm talking specifically about that particularized rationale, and you don't want to discuss it, which is why you're non-responsive, and that's why we need the audio. Now, let me explain why. Because your attorney also said that you did alter the transcript, and they said it was filler words, repeat words, and, I. But you know what? We don't know whether the blank, he said there were blank times where there was silence. We don't know whether those were 1 minute long, 2 minutes long. We don't know if he sputtered for and, because those were edited out. We do not know whether this supports and substantiates Mr. Herr's findings. By the way, you want to rely on Mr. Herr, you need to go back and listen to his testimony. Mr. Herr was pretty conclusive there that he had a poor memory. He was not able to answer all the questions. Substantively, the transcript may be accurate, but you know what? The audio would tell us so much more, which is why the Supreme Court, in the case that you poo-pooed when Mr. Fitzgerald was asking about, they said, look, if there's editing that's gone on here, that's the rationale, and there was editing. Your own office admitted it, but you won't admit it today. You've been non-responsive, and that's why we need the audio, and that's why you're here.
There you go.
Yeah, it's
nobody in the administration will ever answer a damn question.
Well, they won't, and this latest excuse of, well, we're not going to give you the audio because AI. What they wanted to do was float a pre-excuse out there. What they wanted to do with that whole AI thing is, okay, we get ahead of this, and if it ever gets out, if the audio ever sees the light of day, we can claim, no, it sounds like AI to us. We believe it's been changed to add all the stuttering or long moments of silence or whatever we're going to hear. And I believe that's what they were doing now.
Well, the interesting thing is they're claiming that that Republicans will use AI maybe to have longer periods of silence, but they're the ones, their office admits, edited the transcript already without any AI.
Right.
Well, what is the reasoning for editing words in or out of the transcript? Why would you do that? What is the reason? What is the reason that you would edit it in any way? There is no reason, except you're trying to hide something or embellish something, one or the other.
Mm-hmm. And it's likely that it was bad. You couple that with the story out of the Wall Street Journal. And we're talking about, it didn't happen when they were questioning him. It wasn't just a few minutes. It was a long time. And it's quite possible, if you add the elements of what everybody's saying about being in meetings with him, that we were looking at a really bad situation where everybody in the room, which is how you get to her writing the report, which, as bad as it was of him saying that no jury would convict him because he's just a feeble old man, essentially, it was actually even worse, a lot worse than what her depicted in his report. And that's what it comes down to. And they know that.
And there's a few things specifically and I just love how any Republican will ask about a specific question. Well, there are a variety, not talking about a variety of reasons. I'm talking about this reason.
Yep.
And he doesn't want to answer the question because it will indicate that the president has cognitive problems.
Yep.
But the reason is very simple. You release a transcript. Here's how I would have approached it. You release a transcript. Now, the executive order is bogus, and you know that, Mr. Garland. The executive order thing's bogus. You release a transcript. the audio is supposed to be the same content, unless it's not the same content and you're trying to hide something. But the fact is, the major reason they didn't do the trial thing is not because he cooperated, which he didn't fully cooperate, but we'll go into that. That really doesn't matter. The major reason is you believe he doesn't have the cognitive abilities to stand trial.
Right.
And he will evoke sympathy because he's that bad right now. But the White House disagrees with what you said. The White House is saying that what you said is false. Well, then the legislative branch that has oversight needs to find out who's telling the truth.
There's one way to find out the truth.
You or the White House.
Yep.
And now we know that you edited, your office admitted you edited it. So is the White House right? Was the president fine? And is all this information that's been leaked out showing that you're the problem? You can hit it from both ways.
Right.
And they don't have a leg to stand on.
Executive privilege doesn't apply. It was waived.
It doesn't. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Smart owner-operators make every single week as profitable as possible. One trip is not enough time to be considered profitable or unprofitable, and an entire month may be too much time to manage. 1 week is the right amount of time to deal with efficiently. To do so, look at the advantages and disadvantages of every day of the week. Match trip length to the optimum day of the week. Plan to deliver on the day you have the best opportunity of getting a load. Your personal weekly plan will vary depending on the weekly delivery flow cycle of your region, typical length of haul, personal requirements, and other factors. What's important is to have a specific weekly plan that helps you be successful. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Coming up following the bottom of the hour, we will get to Republicans commenting on the president and his executive orders. Remember, the president as recently as a few weeks ago said there is nothing that he could do on the border.
Right.
Nothing.
Right. His hands are tied.
I mean, the pathological line on the border from Democrats is quite amazing.
It really is. It really is. And, you know, the Democrats, the rank-and-file Democrats in these blue cities where they've been dealing with housing migrants for, I don't know, for it seems like forever. And now they're trying to do something. Remember New York City, Mayor Adams just screaming about the fact that he can't get help. And basically the White House just told him to go pound sand. And now Biden's pretending like he's going to help cities like New York and Chicago and all the other blue cities. And those rank-and-file people, the Democrats in those blue cities know better. They look at this, and they're laughing. They're shaking their heads because they know that it, number one, does nothing, and number two, Biden's making a big deal about it doing nothing. He's bragging about doing nothing on something that he broke. It's like he walks, again, it's like being the arsonist. He sets the entire structure on fire. It's fully involved. And then he walks around the front and grabs a tiny little garden hose like he's going to put the fire out.
As he's setting 3 other fires around the side.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's, you know, one of the best things is, well, how are you going to close the border? How are you going to do it? Because if somebody crosses the border and you say, go back, and Mexico says we don't want them.
Yeah.
What are you going to do then? You don't have a deal with Mexico. What do you do?
Right.
You let them in the country. It's all BS.
Right.
And every Democrat listening knows that. Every Democrat knows that Biden does not want to secure the border. Everyone knows that Mayorkas doesn't want to secure the border. Everyone knows that for the last over almost 3.5 years, they've been pathologically lying about what's been going on at the border. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows the reason that the border wasn't as bad under Trump as it is under Biden is because Biden reversed so many of the executive orders that Trump put in.
Yep.
We all know it. Every Democrat knows it. Every Democrat knows this is a sham, just like Obama with gay marriage.
Right.
Obama always supported gay marriage.
Mm-hmm.
We know he did. That's why nobody was upset at him.
Right.
On our website, RedEyeRadioShow.com. Show info with stations, podcasts, and more. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, yesterday, the president put out an executive order to pretend that he is securing the border, and Republicans called him on it. This is the Republicans in the Senate speaking out. And here's Ted Cruz.
So understand, Marcia just made a very important point on H.R. 2. The House passed strong legislation that would have secured the border. H.R. 2 was designed to secure the border. In the Senate, I introduced H.R. 2 in the Senate. Twice I forced a vote on the Senate floor on H.R. 2. Twice, every single Democrat voted no. Now, the press very meekly reported what Chuck Schumer said, which is H.R. 2 is dead in the Senate. Why? Because it's designed to work. H.R. 2 is designed to lower the numbers back to where they were when Biden came into office. It's designed to secure the border. So Schumer was right. H.R. 2 was dead in the Senate. Why? Because the Democrats want this border invasion. That is the outcome they want. So you can't negotiate. Now, I will say this. I'm going to make a prediction. In the next 5 months, we're going to see a very modest decrease in illegal immigration. Why? Because Joe Biden controls it. He caused this. The Democrats want this invasion. So the next 5 months, you're going to see the numbers go down slightly. So then they can say, see, we solved the problem.
We're going to continue, but finally, they're listening to us.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we said.
Because they caused the problem.
Yeah, let's continue.
Yeah.
It's a lie. They know it's a lie. And if, God forbid, they win in November, the numbers will skyrocket again and more people will die. Go ahead, last question.
Yeah, how about, excuse me, a lot of you have talked about this being the number one issue for voters. You're running for re-election. There's a lot of polling, maybe not in Texas, but in other states, where Democratic incumbents are polling better than Joe Biden, that maybe they're not facing the blowback that you think they should. I'm wondering, you've gone to a lot of states, a lot of other senators are trying to elect a Republican Senate. I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on how, on the messaging for Republicans to get across in states that aren't on the border, states like Michigan or states like Ohio.
Well,
what he was said, in case you couldn't hear what he's saying, is that there are Democrat right now members or those looking to get into Congress that are polling better than Biden, and asking if the message from Republicans is correct.
I can tell you in Texas, the invasion at our southern border is the number one issue in the state of Texas, and I believe it is compelling across the country. Now, you're right. Democrat senators, when they go home, there are a lot of senators that go home that pretend they're not crazy, that pretend they're actually moderate, middle of the road. It's an absolute lie. On this issue, every single Democrat, all of them, have voted for this over and over and over again. H.R. 2, they had the opportunity. Do you want to secure the border? Every Democrat voted no. John Tester, he goes back to Montana, says, it's terrible what's happening at the border. And then he votes against securing the border. Bob Casey goes back to Pennsylvania, says, oh, we got to do something about illegal immigration. And then he votes against securing the border. Every single Democrat. Every one of them. I forced a vote a couple of years ago on Gaetz Law. All right, you want to talk about common sense legislation? Gaetz Law polls at about 90%. Why is that? Because it's named after Kate Steinle, beautiful young woman in California, murdered on a California pier by an illegal immigrant who had been released over and over and over again through the revolving door of Democrats letting violent criminals go. Gaetz Law says that anyone who enters the country repeatedly illegally with an aggravated felony will face a mandatory minimum prison sentence. In any room in America, in the bluest state in America, if you ask people, they say, yeah, Gaetz Law makes perfect sense. I forced a vote on the Senate floor. Every single Democrat voted no on Gaetz Law. So the challenge is, frankly, our friends in the media who are here, repeat the adjective when you discuss John Tester, you call him the moderate Democrat. He's not a moderate Democrat. Every single time he's voted in favor of this invasion. And there is a disconnect because every Democrat goes home and pretends they don't want this problem to happen, but they all want it. And the reason is they look at that invasion and they see future Democrat voters. This is all about power. This is the most cynical decision I've ever seen. Listen, every one of us here has been down to the border multiple times. I'll tell you, when you look in the eyes of a little girl or a little boy who's been brutalized, who's been abused by human traffickers, when you see women who've been repeatedly raped, it's evil.
And the reason that John Tester can go back to Montana, and the reason that Bob Casey goes back to Pennsylvania and says they're against this horrendous stuff going on at the border, yet won't vote actually for border security, is because they believe the people that vote for them in Montana and Pennsylvania are complete idiots and will buy into any lie that they tell them.
Yep.
That's why.
Yep.
Tester believes that the people that vote for me are complete morons and idiots. I can say one thing and do another, and they're so damn stupid they'll continue to vote for me, those suckers. They're voting against our own best interest, and I can con them time and time again. And Casey, the same thing.
And they're getting away with it.
They're getting away with it.
So far, they're getting away with it.
Yep. And we said that about the radical transgender movement, too.
Yeah.
99% of the members of the Democrats in Congress want males to compete with females.
Yep.
They believe that the definition of a woman should be decided by radical, insane men. They all believe it.
Yeah.
They're all radicals. They believe in identity politics, judging people by groups and not individuals. Tester believes that. Casey believes that.
They're voting against the interest, of course, of their own constituents, but yet they get away with it.
They get away with it. Because Democrats still want to be BS'd on the issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, this is and with the border, you do what Biden does. You do what Biden does on everything. Israel, the border. He says one thing, he's doing the opposite.
Yeah. They're not telling the American public the truth on anything.
No.
Because otherwise they'd be promoting what they're doing.
Well, and that's it. We've been asking the question, why is it that no one from the administration can answer any questions when they're asked questions on Capitol Hill? Because they can't promote what they're actually doing. They say one thing, they do something else. They count on the willfully ignorant. They believe you're not paying attention or you don't care or both.
Yeah.
And they get away with it. They still win elections doing it.
And they believe they can get away with it because they believe, I mean, they believe the voter that votes for them are idiots and can't comprehend anything. and are complete clones and will just agree with whatever they're doing, and they can say one thing when they go back to Montana and Pennsylvania, and they do another thing in D.C., and they believe these people are idiots and have no attention span, no curiosity at all as to what we're saying to them when we're back in our states, whether it matches what we actually vote for.
Right.
That's what they think of you.
And they get away with it.
Yeah.
They know it. They know that if the needle moved at all, they would have to change.
And especially on immigration, they all know. Independents and Democrats all know that the border was never secure. They know it.
Sure.
They knew that Mayorkas was lying. They knew Biden was lying. They know Biden isn't serious about doing anything right now.
Yep.
But for some reason, their senators can go back and they'll believe they're senators.
Yes.
Even though their senators will vote exactly the way that Biden wishes them to vote.
Yep.
Think about this. If you're a Democrat, these people are tools of the idiot Biden.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just amazing. That's just...
Right. Yeah, he's the one they're going to tank for.
Yep.
Because their constituents let them.
Yeah.
Because they believe they can get away with it.
I wonder if any, like, this would be interesting to see where the polls come out on the issue here. Does any Democrat actually believe that Biden now is securing the border?
No, it's a great question.
Does any I'd like to see in the polls, does any Democrat, not Republican or not independent,
right?
Because obviously we all know he's a pathological liar on everything, on every issue, including the border.
Yeah.
But I wonder if any Democrat voter actually believes that Biden, through this executive order, is securing the border. And then you have to ask yourself the question, is that what you want? And then you have to ask yourself the other question. Biden has consistently, over the last year, said he can't do anything on the border.
Yeah.
That he's helpless to do it.
Right.
Can you answer those questions, or do you all know, just like when Obama said he was grappling on gay marriage? Remember the gay activists came out afterwards and said, well, we knew he was lying.
Yeah.
We knew he was always in favor of gay marriage.
Right.
Does anybody actually believe Biden on this, or do you understand he's pretending to close the border so he can win an election, and if he wins, then it goes right back to where we are right now, which is pure chaos and insanity at the border.
Yeah,
but you really don't get a lot of polls specifically hitting the Democrats on what Biden is talking about on the issues.
No, we don't, and we know for pollsters it's enormously expensive to break down things, but honestly, it's important right now. I think it's critical right now to find out what the rank and file believe. I think it's critical for the GOP to know what the rank and file Democrat believe and what they're convinced of. Because it all gets back to messaging. We assume people think like us. They don't. We assume things matter to them the way they matter to us. They don't.
They don't.
You know, I was thinking about yesterday morning. I thought the whole Trump verdict thing. This is a massive, massive, massive moment in American presidential history. Or is it? Because what should also be massive and very concerning to people is the national debt. Things, the broken border, inflation, and all these things. We think inflation is. We think the broken border is. You can see it in the polls. Is the national debt? No, and it's critical. So I don't know what resonates. You know, it's hard to tell. It could be a flash last Thursday evening for people and then be gone on the verdict thing. Yep. Because they don't think like us. That, you know, how many of us, I mean, we're all, we got this one little corner of fiscal conservatives left in America that are concerned about the national debt, you know, so that's one example. Does everyone look at the verdict thing and just go, well, there's the circus, just another day at the circus? I don't know. I guess we'll see.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up on the top of the hour, the speaker talks about Biden's executive order and said yesterday, 124 days ago, the president looked into the camera and said, "There's nothing I can do.
Yeah,
there's nothing I can do.
Right.
There's nothing I can do." Now he's just pretending to do something. This is all smoke and mirrors. But 124 days ago, he said, "There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do." He was lying.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that. Also, new poll out. Many Americans, I love this one. New poll out. Many Americans are still shying away from EVs, despite Biden's push. No blank, Sherlock.
Yeah, we're not shying away. We're just not buying them. They're shying away. Oh, no, thank you. Oh, no, thank you. Shying away.
Oh. Interesting. What voters believe about whether Trump and Biden should be drug tested before a presidential debate.
Oh. If only someone had suggested that.
See, the media is following what Trump said. You know?
Yeah.
Trump, from what I know, doesn't drink, smoke, do anything.
Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah. Caffeine from Diet Coke, maybe. That might be a problem.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. I love this story.
Yeah, what do you got?
Voters by a huge margin want Joe Biden and Donald Trump to be tested for drugs at the upcoming presidential debates. The first of a kind poll shows. Are you ready for this? Because it's landslide numbers. But I love this. Is this did the Daily Mail UK do this? Because they make it sound like, well, people are concerned with Trump, too. They want the drug testing for both of them. It's like, no, they don't.
Yeah.
They want it for Biden. But it's fully 70%. Well, why do you need the fully in there? Why isn't it just 70%? It's not 70%. It's fully 70%.
Like the opposite. Unfully 70%.
Unfully
70%.
70% of people want the men screened for pharmaceuticals when they face off June 27th. And then again on September 10th, a Daily Mail tip survey reveals only 18% of people said drug tests were not needed. And that was the Libertarian Party. And 12% said that they weren't sure. You like that?
Yeah, the 12% basically were saying, what are you, a cop?
The pharmacist on 2.5 Men. Russell, that was it.
Should
Russell.
they be drug tested? What are you, a cop? Who drug tests? What? You mean me?
That's still, and I never watched the show a lot, but that I did catch that episode where Two and a Half Men where Charlie goes in, he just can't sleep, and he's looking for some kind of medication. Russell, the pharmacist, wasn't he the great character?
Martin Mull, to me, has been, especially in recent years, has been severely underused.
Yes.
He's just great.
He goes, no, you don't need that. You need something organic, because he had like pills or whatever. He goes, and Russell, the pharmacist, no, you need something organic, and he pulls out the weed.
Yeah.
And then Charlie says, isn't that illegal? And Russell's response,
what are you, a cop? What are you, a cop?
But then they need a prescription, so they dial the doctor in India on a Zoom call. Yeah. And after he's done, all of a sudden you can hear the phone ring. The doctor's still on the Zoom call. Phone rings. He goes, hello, DirecTV. That was just awesome. But yeah, so a poll of 1,910 respondents comes after Trump has accused a Democratic opponent of being old and feeble and the user of performance-enhancing drugs. Trump says Biden should be tested for drugs before their debate at CNN headquarters in Atlanta later on this month. The Republican candidate says, without evidence, that Biden was all jacked up and high as a kite when he delivered the State of the Union address in March. Trump allegations. This is Daily Mail UK. I'm reading this verbatim. Trump's allegation plays into fears that the 81-year-old president lacks vigor and mental clarity due to his age. The oldest president in U.S. history is derided as a gaffe machine who often jumbles his words and has tripped and fallen at public events. Then they go into the Robert Hur thing. About being a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. You see here, Biden's unusually energetic State of the Union speech. By the way, you knew he was in trouble at that point.
Yeah,
because he was shouting. It was like, how's it going to be? He never got a bump out of it. Was hailed by White House insiders as evidence that the president had enough energy to go the distance.
Yeah.
But critics suggested the president popped an Adderall or some other stimulant to pep him up for the 1 hour and 7-minute showpiece.
That's got to be exhausting.
However, White House medical records show Biden only takes more common medicines for allergies, heartburn, and for stopping blood clots. Well, the public agrees with Trump.
Yeah.
By landslide numbers.
Right.
Think about that. You have, if it's 70% of people, 18% said the drug tests were not needed. Those have to be Biden supporters.
Yeah.
No Trump supporter would say, no, I don't want drug tests because Trump may test positive.
Or maybe a couple of people who say, I don't need the test to tell me what I already know.
No, that's true. So that means when you get 70%, you're talking about half to more of Democrats believe that they should be drug tested. And Democrats aren't saying it because of Trump. Because it's well known. I mean, his history is
right.
He doesn't drink, he doesn't do anything. Doesn't even drink.
Right.
Now, 85% of Red Eye Radio listeners said we ought to be drug tested. And if found to have nothing in our system, we should start doing drugs in order to handle all the stories we have to handle each and every day. At the minimum, they say, put the beer back in the refrigerator out in the kitchen.
Right. Exactly.
Why can't the guys at Red Eye have an occasional sip of a cocktail? Bill Maher does it, right?
Makes you look cool. You should have a cigar and
oh my God, could you
and a cocktail.
Could you imagine cigar smoke every night in this room, you and I?
No.
Oh my gosh.
No, thanks.
Talk about nausea.
Yeah, no, thanks.
And keep the stogies overnight and then come back in and they're
Yeah, no, thanks. Yeah, no.
I made that mistake a long time ago. Had a few of my golfing buddies over at the house. A few cocktails. They were smoking cigars out there. It started raining out in the porch, and I said, this was in my townhouse before I moved into my house. And I said, oh, look, guys, come on in. It's not going to bother me if you just smoke in the house one night. Woke up the next morning. There's like the crushed cigars or whatever, cigars that were just sitting in, I didn't have ashtrays, so whatever kind of bowls I had there.
Right.
And I came down the stairs that morning, took one whiff. I mean, the wave of nausea that came over me was like, never again, ever does anybody smoke in my house.
No.
Ever.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll never forget that. But that's interesting, though, isn't it? When you think 70%, you would think that just Democrats would say, no, we don't want Biden drug tested.
Yeah.
You would think it would be closer.
It's a significant number of Democrats who are saying yes. From an idea brought up by Trump.
Oh, I got the breakdown.
All right, let's see it.
All right. First off, what percentage of Republicans supported drug testing? The candidates. What would you think?
I don't know.
77%.
Okay. I was going to say well over 60, certainly.
I would have thought, then again, remember, you've got just libertarians that go, it shouldn't be, whatever. They may vote Republican. All right, Democrats. That's actually the one. What do you think about? Now, this number surprises me. 64% of Democrats believe both candidates should be drug tested.
All right. So from what?
Why?
Okay. Because then there's the breakdown. What's the motivation? Because they want to make sure that Trump would be drug tested, and the secondary would be, okay, yeah, we'll agree to Biden too, but we want Trump drug tested. I wonder what the thought is there.
They figure that Trump, if he doesn't get jail time, is on probation for the September 10th one. If he accidentally tests positive, even if it was secondhand,
he goes to prison for life.
He goes to prison.
Yeah. Right.
Stop completing my sentences.
Yeah.
What are you, my wife?
He goes to the high security prison in Colorado. Supermax.
I mean, hey, we know it's a state charge, not a federal charge. Let us have our fun.
They wheel him out in a straight jacket, and he's got a mask so he won't bite anybody. This is getting stupid. This is just getting stupid.
64% of Democrats believe both candidates should be drug tested.
All right.
Though Trump put a spotlight on his opponent being high as a kite, few voters believe Biden takes performance-enhancing drugs. Just 30% of respondents said they thought the president uses drugs to help him in his demanding job. A full 40% said he does not. 30% not sure. Well, then why would they want the drug testing?
Right. Are they saying they believe Trump uses drugs? Did they ask that question? How many believe that Trump uses performance-enhancing drugs?
You know something, though? The Daily Mail, UK, which can be very liberal.
Oh, yeah.
They're caught in 2021. Look at this here. Biden's performance will be watched for signs of declining mental acuity, while Trump is prone to incendiary rhetoric that excites some voters but alienates many others. Isn't that a 2021
Yeah,
mindset?
it really is. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
I read that and went, nah, that's
kind of over.
That's over. That's over a year. That's over a year old.
Yeah.
You see Trump now, the incendiary rhetoric is, coming from Biden when you think about it. So much of it is screaming and and the accusations from Democrats that he's where are we now? We're past Hitler. Where are we? I forgot where we're at now with Trump. We're past Hitler.
Two-headed Satan.
Two-headed Satan, okay.
Yeah.
Malevolent spirits?
Yeah.
Is that what Tucker Carlson was talking about? Was he referring to Trump?
Yeah, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not obviously not going to happen, but it's interesting to see where everybody's head is at.
Or is that just in general we want all politicians drug tested? Is that what it goes back to?
Could be. Could be a populist
but
kind of
we
thing.
don't want to be drug tested.
Yeah. Don't test us.
Don't test us. Test the other guy.
Well, it does make you wonder how many were high when they responded to the yeah, man. Test them all, man. I want to know what they're smoking, man. I want some of that.
They should have asked, what drugs should disqualify one of the presidential candidates if found in the system? Democrats said, acid is fine. We're all delusional.
Yeah.
And all seeing and hearing things that aren't there.
The more mushrooms, the better. That's what I always say. That's what I always say.
Republicans were looking for alcohol, specifically Bud Light.
Yeah, right.
In the system.
Well, because if you did see Adderall, would people... That's only going to, for people that have been saying it, that they believe Biden is using something like Adderall. It's just going to be confirmation for them. How many other people actually care about him using Adderall or whatever? What drug would be... Because I'm wondering how many people want them tested because they want to make a list of, hey, man, what's he on? Because I could use some of that.
Well, you know, the video that came out of Biden from over a year ago that has been proven to be legit, where his eyes were like wide open for 17, 18 seconds.
Mm-hmm. No blinking.
No blinking. And they were just, most people's eyes don't go like that.
Right.
Your eyes stay relatively the same.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a squinter. I mean, and I'm not trying to insult him. I'm just saying that his eyes, you know, you just see a little bit of the eye, and to see that completely wide open, the question would be, and I think any medical profession would say, what's up with you?
Yeah.
Right? If I went into the doctor,
say that if I were 17 and I walked in and I looked at my dad with those eyes, being a longtime military law enforcement top cop, I can't describe the trouble I would have been in.
There's nothing wrong with me, Dad. Yeah, there is.
Yeah, let me ask you. Can you see the surface of the moon with those eyes? What the hell?
Because we thought when we first saw it a couple of weeks ago, we went, okay, maybe this is AI or something. And then I believe it was on CNN where they had the experts said, no, this really happened. This was
this is not AI.
This is not AI. It's nothing was done here.
It's real.
His eyes were open like that, and at that point, in a serious way, because remember, when you see this guy going around, this is the guy that decides whether to shoot back at Russia if they launch ICBMs or China.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Doesn't make you really feel comfortable at all, does it?
No, it does not.
You know, maybe a lot of people don't think that because they didn't grow up during the Cold War. You grew up during the Cold War. I remember being 8, 9 years old, and I understood. I remember watching some newscast and going to bed going, oh, my God, we could destroy the earth.
Right.
They could shoot at us any moment now, and we could shoot back at them. We grew up with that.
This is the guy helping Hamas currently.
And this is the guy helping Hamas, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To taking the side of Hamas, lying about it. Boy, that's coming out now going, my God.
Oh, yeah.
He lied about Israel.
Yeah.
That Israel, this was
Blatant
an Israeli
lie.
deal.
Right.
I mean,
he's different than the botched exit of Afghanistan.
Here's a guy where you don't know if he's on something, and he's pro-Hamas.
You can't trust any of his decisions at all.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Okay, now this lost me. I missed this. This was out Monday. We're at Wednesday now. This happened yesterday. I didn't see any news item about it. This was from Monday, facing from the Washington Times. I just saw this coming in, 5 seconds before we came in. Facing a contentious convention. So do research on this for me, Eric, as I'm reading it. Facing a contentious convention this summer in Chicago and rumblings about replacing President Biden on the ballot, the Democratic National Committee on Tuesday, which would have been yesterday, will vote to change party rules to allow them to nominate him virtually before he sets foot in the convention hall. It's a move the Democrats said was needed to circumvent an early ballot filing deadline in Ohio. However, when the governor of Ohio signed a law on Sunday to extend the filing deadline to accommodate Biden, the DNC is nonetheless moving forward with the planned virtual nomination, a DNC aide said on Monday. The DNC's move would eliminate any realistic chance disgruntled party members will try to replace Mr. Biden on the ballot with a more desirable candidate amid alarming poll numbers that show him trailing former President Donald Trump both nationally and in the critical battleground states. By the time Mr. Biden arrives at the United Center in Chicago, where the convention opens up on August 19th, he'll be locked in to appear on the ballot in all 50 states. Once President Biden is virtually nominated, then that will be it. He will be the presidential nominee of the Democratic Party, and only death or incapacitation will prevent the moving forward.
Yeah, widely reported, and so looks like that's the move they're going to make.
Yeah. Did they do it yesterday? I didn't see the news story yesterday.
I didn't see the update that they actually got it done yet.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just trying to find it here. I can't find anyone that they actually did it yesterday. Unless, was I reading that? No, that was... Democratic National Committee to nominate Biden. They were supposed to have the official vote tomorrow, but they're going to do it, though. We know it. I can't find it where it says they actually had and, that they agreed to it yesterday. But this is, the thing is, first thought that came to my mind, the left's going to be furious. Because the left wanted their input into the Democrat Party, and the left is gaining influence in the Democrat Party, and now they're saying, we don't, sorry, you guys can't be a part of the process. We need to what they're saying to the far left is, I saw Representative Jayapal yesterday, calling Biden xenophobic, everything for what he did, with his executive order. But we all know it's BS.
Yeah.
It's just you have a portion of the Democratic Party that says, no, we want to promote the fact that we're fascists and we're socialists.
Right.
We want people to know that we want an open border.
Yeah.
And the rest of the Democratic Party agrees with them. They don't agree that they should publicize what they actually believe.
Right.
They understand, most Democrats understand, if they promote what they actually believe to the American public, they won't get elected. You have people on the squad, they don't care. They can get elected in their district. They want to promote what they believe.
Yep.
But which is really interesting that you've had a Democratic Party for such a long time that believes one thing but promotes another.
Yeah.
Republicans do not do it to any extent or level that Democrats do it. And so I think that the far left is going to be angry because what they're saying is, screw you, you're shut out of the convention.
Well, that's it. At least, and I think they look at this, the DNC looks at this and says, well, we got our business done without having to deal with the radicals. And we because by the time they show up, then, all right, We've already done the business. Everything's already done. You're not going to disrupt the business. We're going to get it done.
They're all radicals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Biden is a radical. I mean, you're talking about, when you look at the squad, for example, they're blatant anti-Semites.
Mm-hmm.
They're blatant. I mean, they're very blunt with their Jew hatred.
Mm-hmm.
We know that the Jew hatred exists in the Biden administration without question because we saw it early on. Remember, the State Department came out immediately when Israel was attacked and said, "Don't strike back."
Yep.
We know that because, what was it? It was Ted Cruz who called him on it twice.
Mm-hmm.
Two tweets came out, two separate tweets, not to go in. We know that the Biden administration is pro-terrorist, is pro-Hamas, and anti-Israel, and anti-Semitic Jew haters. We know that. They're trying to pretend that they're not.
Yeah.
The squad and the far left doesn't care.
Well, that's it.
They
can't
want to
have they can't have the loud radicals get in the way of their lying.
No, that's true.
That's exactly what's going on here. We need to lie at the convention, and you're not going to let us lie at the convention. We need to lie to the American people.
Now the problem is here. When is the date? Oh, no, the date's gone now because Ohio State's gone. So they can do it whenever they want. They can nominate him whenever they want because Ohio now, that situation has been solved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it doesn't matter when they nominate him. They took that away from them. But if they do that in the next couple of weeks, it's over.
Yeah.
And there's nobody right now. And I don't know, is this the last, the Wall Street Journal article came out. You're hearing more about his, cognitive problems. They're putting him out there in situations also where he looks terrible. But again, if you don't put him out at all, if you hide him, you can't hide him. You can't hide him right now. But when they put him out, I mean, it looks horrible when he's out.
Yeah, it's so bad, and it's getting worse.
And, for me, actually, forget about politics. Our enemies are looking at this guy going, always sits in the back of my head.
Well, the vulnerability right now is excruciating to think about because it really, I believe that we're at great risk for an enemy testing us. Not a North Korea lobbing a missile or doing tests with missiles. I mean something on American soil.
A terrorist attack, yeah. I can see that happening because they don't believe Biden will respond.
Right. Well, because they know the decision-making process is drastically different. You don't have a commander-in-chief that has the wherewithal to be able to make a split-second decision. That it's going to take a number of people to conjure that decision out of him or make it for him. There are serious issues here, and we look at it because of the optics of it all and how that plays out. But the seriousness of all of this is to a frightening level as far as I'm concerned. I don't know that we've, when every time we hear FBI Director Wray, all the signals right now look at, that we should be concerned with all the red lights going off. And I look at that with a border that's been opened by the same guy who's not going to be able to make a decision if we are attacked on American soil. He's not going to do anything about it. He's not going to be able to make a decision about it, and he's going to hesitate. He's going to flinch because he doesn't have the mental wherewithal to handle the job. And that, to me, is something you can't disprove. There's something, the left is trying to prop him up. We're doing this weekend at Bernie's presidential version.
That's really is
dangerous.
I mean, yeah. It's very dangerous. And when you see him out there, I mean, every single day. I mean, now the thing is, was it yesterday when he was done with it, and he just stared?
Yeah. No, he just
stared like
it's like the other day.
Look at him go like, where the hell am I?
Right.
I have no idea where. And people are screaming. He just turns around and then he walks out. Then he said, the thing where he said he wasn't going to comment on Israel, and then he criticized Israel at the same time. He said, I can't talk about them. Then they had to backtrack on it yesterday.
Right.
But he was just staring at it looks like he's completely lost.
He's lost. He's absolutely lost.
And it's getting worse each and every day.
Yep.
And what happens in the debate coming up?
I don't know.
Will they have him if they have him jacked up, he can lose it.
Well, the problem too is that if there are cognitive issues that are going on, anger is a part of it.
Yeah.
Biden has been defiant all of his political life, but when he says things like "I could take you," that's part of the anger that comes along with cognitive issues at later ages, and we should all be concerned about this, and yet the alarms don't seem to be going off the way they should.
Oh, some new polling numbers out yesterday. And again, nothing is all-inclusive or all-telling. But the general election, Rasmussen head-to-head, Trump 48, Biden 43. General election, everyone, Trump 44, Biden 39, Kennedy 8, Stein 1, West 1. So Trump up +5. I'm just only going to count the head-to-head is dumb. That's just dumb to be doing the head-to-head. It doesn't mean anything. I'm trying to look and see if there's – no, I can't get to it here. I'm trying to see.
And I think the closer we get, you're going to see those Kennedy numbers go down. I'm not convinced he's going to get 8. I could be wrong, but I'm not convinced he's going to. The only asterisk I put by that is the none of the above thing. And that's what Kennedy is for a number of the supporters. None of the above. I'm not going to make a decision this year.
By the way, Rasmussen is the only one out of the last week that's actually a likely voter poll. Everything over the last 2 weeks from Real Clear Politics is registered voters.
Yeah. Yeah, it's time to end those.
I just noticed that now.
Time to get on with likely voter polls.
Okay, the Rasmussen. I'm trying to see what day it is because I'm trying to see if this is afterwards. No, they don't have it on. No, this is to May 30th. So okay, that's not after. I don't know why they're just announcing it today as a poll, or yesterday as a poll from yesterday. It's a poll from last week. So okay, can't count that.
Just
one.
Released yesterday, but it was taken through the 30th.
So I just checked on it to see. I wanted to go back and look at the different Rasmussen polls and to see where that was. So that one doesn't count. So, but it'd be interesting to see what goes on. Interesting to see if they poll whether people believe. I don't know if they'll take the poll because I think mainstream media would be afraid to see what the results might be. I'd be afraid.
Guilty, not guilty for the American public, or what?
No, on his executive order. Whether they believe that Biden actually wishes to secure the border. I know CNN. I'll see if I can find the audio. I think it was yesterday. Did a thing that Trump is so far ahead, like 27 points on immigration.
Yeah, and immigration is right up there, and in some polls even higher than inflation on list of concerns. If it's the number one issue with millions of Americans, and he's leading by 27%.
I think electricity prices is going to have an impact. Gasoline prices here in Texas, at least, are down a little bit, but they fluctuate widely. You know, there can be an extra supply here in Texas because we're closer to refineries or whatever.
Right.
And so really don't have a handle on how gasoline prices are going to affect it. But as you and I have talked about the fact now, the economists are saying, remember a year ago, about 6 months ago, we could have 5 or 6 cuts. Okay, maybe 2 or 3 cuts to the Fed rate. And now the consensus is It's going to be none.
Right.
Which means inflation is going to continue to be a problem. And I saw consumer spending yesterday is still up. If you're trying to knock down inflation, that's not going to do it.
No. It's, this summer is going to hit over and over again. No one is going to remember this executive order because it's not going to change anything. Nothing is going to change. You're not going to see a dramatic change. When executive orders come in, and you can see an impact from them, and then there's residual news on the impact part of it. Well, there's not going to be a positive impact from the executive order. There's not going to be any change here.
There may be a slight change, as Republicans are expecting. Ted Cruz was saying they expect there's going to be a little bit of a change because that's the whole point. Then they're going to claim victory.
Well, the administration's going to claim victory.
Right.
But I'm talking about the reality of everyday people in their towns. They're not going to see much of a difference here. That's not going to be a change at all. That's going to be what the administration is claiming, and they're going to claim victory here when there is none.
Yeah.
So
it's because
reality is
it's symbolic.
There's going to be no difference, and people are still going to be angry at this administration for causing it.
86690 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's our Crony, and I'm Gary McNamara. Looking at one report from NBC that said, okay, they're skeptical this is going to have any type of really immediate or widespread effect at all on it. And that's from NBC yesterday in their nightly news. So we'll get to that coming up here in just a little bit, which means if it's on NBC, it's also being reported on MSNBC.
Yeah.
So that's the fact that, and you had the Squad and the leftist Democrats come out screaming at Biden, calling him everything, calling his actions everything from xenophobic to whatever. So we had asked the question yesterday, why does he believe he can win when he goes halfway in an issue? They're still under that mentality that, for example, we can be anti-Semitic and pretend we're not anti-Semitic.
Right.
We can be pro-terrorist and then pretend we're not pro-terrorist. Well, you can't do it both ways.
Right.
And the same thing on the border. You can't sit there for 3.5 years and state the border is secure and pathologically lie about the border and then come out and put through an executive order where people actually believe that you're serious about it. Right now, I don't see anybody who thinks the president's serious on it.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I think Trump should really push his drug testing thing, since 70% of voters want drug testing for the presidential candidates before the debates. 70%, 64% of Democrats want a drug test. Excuse me, I hiccup there.
And 78% are smoking weed. We're on drugs. We want to make sure they're on drugs.
Right. Do you know how hard it is for us to be on drugs and watch sober people? I don't know if you can sober people. You may not get the impression with Trump debating Biden that it's sober people.
Sober's not the right word, is it?
Yeah, sober might not be the correct word for that.
Yeah, yeah. It is interesting. I mean, we know it's not going to happen, but it's interesting to gauge the sentiment on that.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Especially on something Trump floated.
Yeah.
If you take that back to 2020, this same question, the same scenario, I wonder what the polls would have been. I don't think it would have been anywhere near this.
No, because it would have been Trump said.
Yeah.
Trump said Biden should be drug
agree
tested.
with Trump that Biden should be,
drug tested.
Yeah.
Probably
because
not.
Trump has no problem. I mean, again, if you're gonna test for special sauce from McDonald's and Diet Coke, then he's probably going to have a pretty strong reading on that.
Does he drink coffee?
I don't know if he drinks coffee. I don't know. I know Diet Coke. I know basically what was reported. Diet Coke, burgers from McDonald's, and what was, the ice cream. Remember the thing when he wanted the ice cream? He wanted like 2 scoops of ice cream, and everyone else in the room was getting 1 scoop. And the liberal media lost their mind over it.
My buddy Jerry, when I visited him a couple of weeks ago, is now drinking green tea instead of coffee. I told him he's not my friend anymore.
Yeah, he's a communist.
Yeah,
is what he is. Yeah.
Green tea.
Yeah, that's what communists drink.
Now, I did a green tea shot with him one time.
Did you?
Yeah, those are pretty good.
Is it the green tea shot or is it the that grass juice?
Well,
stuff?
no, he's drinking green tea, but I'm saying I did at another time, not in the morning when he was drinking green tea and I wanted a coffee. But
oh, you mean like an actual? Is there a bar drink called a green tea shot?
There's a green tea shot.
Okay.
Yes, an
I
alcoholic.
thought you were talking about one of those health drinks of the.
No.
What was that?
Well, no, it was. I'm telling you though, it was a health drink. I felt better after it.
Oh, I bet you did. Yeah, I bet you did. I bet keep them coming. I'm working on my health.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What do you mean? It's alcohol. It's not healthy. But I feel great.
Yeah.
Wait till the morning.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah.
And no, in fact, we did one. When I saw him, we did because he is the one years ago when he was visiting me and we were in some place. He said, "You ever have a green tea shot?" And I went, "No, I really don't want to do a shot, but that sounds healthy."
Right.
Knowing, by the way, I wasn't buying my own BS. I want you to know. And so we did one there, and then we decided to do one when I was visiting him a couple of weeks ago because it was the 50th anniversary of us starting working at the bank together as bill collectors.
Right.
It was like, wow. It was like, okay, all right, let's do a green tea shot. It's 50 years.
50 years of
50 years
collusion.
50 years of colluding with Jerry.
Colluding with Jerry. The Gary and Jerry and Mary collusion.
Yeah. And by the way, that was said a lot. Oh, then there was Gary, Mary, Jerry, and then somebody else we met.
Larry?
It was like Larry or something.
Barry?
It was like, wow.
Yeah.
It was like, hi, I'm Larry. Well, I'm Jerry. This is Mary. There's Gary. It was like,
You've completed it. You've done it.
Man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't believe 50 years ago is when I started working as a bill collector at the bank. And I was only 2 years old, so I'm 52 now. So
right. Yeah.
Child labor laws were looser back then.
Yeah.
Go Gaga, pay your MasterCard.
Yeah. What's with these infants just laying around all day? Get a job.
No, it's great, though, because you go back and you think about a half century and you're like, wow, it's interesting. And I told you, we've had this discussion. Even the music I listen to, like you, is harder or, it'd probably be more harder, a little bit of metal, a lot of prog rock.
Yeah.
But I hear even the yacht rock stuff from the 70s, from 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's not that I ever bought any of the albums, but you didn't need to. I mean, because radio stations were playing them every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You couldn't miss it. A band that I just bought in the last couple of years, that because I heard it so much, I said, I got to have them was Badfinger.
Yeah.
Because I never bought any of the stuff because it was on the radio so much. And
remember when people seriously thought that was Paul McCartney's new band?
That's a sad story about Badfinger, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because they had 2 of the members committed suicide.
Mm-hmm.
They got nothing.
Yeah.
They didn't get I think later on their estates did.
Yeah.
But they got nothing. And they just, they had massive hits and didn't get anything for it. From the record company deal that they signed.
Right.
That was sad. But which is why you need to pay attention whether you're a college student or a rock and roller, the contract that you sign. But it's just there's now, and it's really been the last 10 years where now I can actually listen to music that I really never sought out, but I hear it and it brings you back to a point in time 45 years ago or 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Or immediately when you heard the song where you were at.
Right.
I was telling somebody the other day, and I played the tune of them as adults from YouTube, the Cowsills. Remember, which actually was the idea for the Partridge Family.
The Rain, the Park, and other things.
The Rain, the Park, the other things. The first song I heard when I got my first transistor radio, I hear that song. I mean, I never bought that record. I have no interest musically in that song of going, what a great song. I heard that song. I listened to the whole thing because I know exactly where I was at that moment when I heard that song, when I put my 9-volt battery into my transistor radio.
Mm-hmm.
And it brings you back. And none of them, it's not like nostalgia of, it was the good old days. Because I look back at it, I don't want to be back then. I want to be right where I am right now. This is the best time of my life, and I've always thought that way. And I'm thinking, that's going to come to an end.
Yeah.
I don't know when,
right.
but that mindset's going to come to an end. So I'm going to keep thinking that way because it's just natural for me. But it does bring you back to those moments, and you go, "Oh yeah, I remember where I was. Well, what a sweet moment."
I was, in fact, kind of having one of those moments. My wife and I were on a short road trip recently, and so something came on, one of the metal channels that I was listening to, and I told my wife, I said, "This song takes me back, and this is this song right here, back to my days as a musician, but also as a teenager, and the first time that I heard it, and it was kind of a change in the band. It was Iron Maiden, and I look over at my wife's like, yeah, just keep your eyes on the road, metal boy."
Well, but here's one, because I was never, in metal, some okay, others like I was never as big of a Black Sabbath fan as you are.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
If I hear Iron Man,
mm-hmm.
I remember skipping some class in my first year of college, and we all headed to the park, and Iron Man was on.
Yeah.
So if I hear the beginning of that song, I flash back right to that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's War Pigs. Yeah.
And so that would have been 74.
Right. And I
would
was
have been the fall or...
I was younger when I was a kid when that came out, when that stuff was, I was just a kid, and I kind of recognized it for what it was. It's like horror music, like a horror movie. It's like it's basically that's what they were trying to achieve. And I kind of got it right off the bat. Well, not everybody did, including my mother, who was a Bible school teacher.
Well, it was playing, I recognized what it was. I wasn't really into it, and the guys I was in the car with were like, they were jamming.
I was intrigued by it.
And I was sort of like, because at that moment I was sort of into my, early Genesis stage of classic, and that was where my father. That's where my father, by having only classical music albums, that's when prog rock came along. I think my mind instantly related to it because of the classical music that was in the house constantly growing
Fly
up.
By Night. Rush, and that stuff was kind of hitting, yes, and all that was the same thing. And I was basically trying to compartmentalize all of that at a very young age when I think about it now, and then started playing guitar at 10, trying to, and drums about the same time, and trying to mimic what they were doing. And it was just mind-blowing to me. And that stuff kind of when I hear early Rush, it's, to me, takes me right. My buddy's bedroom where we were cranking it up, trying to learn the music.
And whenever I hear Disco Duck from Rick Dees.
Oh, Rick Dees in the weekly top 40. Yeah.
Oh, my. I mean, I flash back to working at the bank at that point, when I had moved out of, that had to be 75, 76. That was after.
Yeah, I want to say it was 76.
76, yeah, because I had switched from collections to customer service,
mm-hmm.
and I worked with this guy with Anthony who loved disco, and he just loved Disco Duck.
Oh my gosh!
I can still remember going, God, please just turn that damn thing off.
Yeah,
I can't handle it.
Right,
and I have seen, what was it? It was a biography on the Bee Gees,
mm-hmm.
where they were getting into it, and they said, well, actually, Disco Duck killed disco. That was the thing that killed it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my God. It wasn't blowing up. It wasn't, it was coming to an end when they blew up all the records. Remember, what was that?
Well, they had...
White Sox game or Cubs game? I can't remember.
Yeah, and
White
they had like 2 or 3 Bee Gees songs in the top 10 and an Andy Gibbs song, too.
Yes.
So like 4 of the top 10 songs at one time were all Gibbs brothers. And all sounded the same.
No, I remember because that would have been 78 maybe when I was playing I Just Want to Be Your Everything, and I was playing that on the radio going.
And then all of a sudden, Van Halen.
God, how did I ever get into this?
Yeah.
That would have killed me in music radio if I would have stayed in it to play music that I hated.
No, I think that's the idea. Let's take all this stuff out to a ballpark and burn it. Can we please end it? That's radio DJs going, well, please.
But the incredible thing is when you actually think about it, when the biography of the Bee Gees, they're like, we didn't even know we were disco.
Right.
We weren't even.
The singing in falsetto.
Yeah.
A producer said, can you sing it high? Which is actually what happened with Mutt Lange and Brian Johnson from AC/DC. It's like, hey, can you sing high? And so the signature sound of what became the signature sound of AC/DC was Mutt Lange saying, hey, try this. And the same thing with the Bee Gees. It's like, and then the falsetto became their thing.
Yeah, it really did, because it wasn't there in the beginning.
Right.
I remember in the late 60s, early 70s, that Bee Gees was a different band.
Totally different
than
band.
the one that came out. I saw another documentary just recently on the Beach Boys and Brian Wilson.
Yeah.
He didn't want to sing high.
No.
He said, he goes, everybody said, well, you're a girl. And he goes, the human voice can do it. Now that they're older, it's like, back then it's like, oh, I can't sound like a girl, but it sounded superb. I mean, that made the harmonies even better for the Beach Boys.
Well, that's it. And that's kind of what happened with the Bee Gees, because then they could their harmonies, and they were brothers. And so familial harmonies are the best, they always say. And so their harmonies were unmatched. That's what they were trying to achieve with that. And then it was just overplay. It was just all of a sudden it was everywhere and you couldn't avoid it. And then everybody was like, okay, enough. Next thing you know, Van Halen, the new version of AC/DC, and everything ushered in a totally new era of rock.
And then at that point, then REO Speedwagon and Foreigner decided to create love ballads.
Oh, man. They sold so many records, but it was just all over the place. It was all over the place.
I had to play it. God, I hated it. I want to know what love is.
what love is. I know what it is.
I want you to show me.
Yeah. I want to know what rock is. Again, please.
And maybe if I would have just played it once or twice, but I played it probably 50,000 times.
Lou Gramm, by the way, said at the Rock Hall induction he said that choice of a song, which is, one of their biggest songs, he said it wasn't his choice. He wanted to do something more rock.
Well, it's like when Styx went to Babe.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That was painful.
Yeah, Babe, I'm leaving. Take Dennis DeYoung with you.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. At a roadside inspection, inspectors may ask to see supporting documents. A supporting document is a document generated or received by a motor carrier in the normal course of business that can be used by law enforcement to verify a driver's logs. These documents can include bills of lading, itineraries, schedules, or equivalent documents that indicate the origin and destination of each trip. They can also include dispatch or trip records, expense receipts related to on-duty/not driving periods, including receipts for meals, lodging, and fuel, electronic mobile communication transmitted through a fleet management system, and payroll records, settlement sheets, or equivalent documents that indicate payment to a driver. Drivers using paper logs must also keep toll receipts. Supporting documents must contain the driver's name, carrier-assigned identification number or vehicle unit number that can be linked to the driver, the date, the name of the nearest city, town, or village, and the time. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, so the problem the administration has, let me play this quick audio cut here. The problem the administration has, this is NBC covering the president's executive order on the border yesterday.
Based on the details of this executive order and how it actually functions that we've learned so far today, I actually have to say I'm quite skeptical that this is going to have any kind of immediate, widespread, dramatic impact on the border, on the number of migrants who are crossing the border, and on the number of migrants who manage to stay in the United States as a result. And there's a few complicated reasons for that. But the main one is that I and a lot of other people were expecting that this authority to, quote unquote, close down the border was going to be dependent on the United States being able to summarily expel migrants with no due process, no access to the asylum system, immediately back into Mexico shortly after they cross. That does not appear to be the case, mainly because Mexico has not agreed to accept any more migrants than it already does. Mexico has pretty strict, specific requirements on the number of migrants that it accepts and on the nationality of migrants that it accepts. And the U.S. cannot simply return people to Mexico without Mexico's active participation.
There you go. And that was, we brought that up at the beginning of the show, by the way. But I just wanted to play that because that's NBC doing it. And plus, as we talked about already, if you don't take the fact that, well, there's no process for sending them back,
right?
Already with everything else that will be allowed, it will still be 1.8, at the minimum, 1.84 million coming in a year.
Yep.
And that's not including, they're claiming they can send people back. They can't.
Yeah, it's, they're going to claim victory here. They're going to try and promote numbers between now and November 5th that work in their favor. But reality is this does nothing.
Line open. 1-866-90-RED-EYE. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app now or sometime. It doesn't have to be right now. In 5 minutes, you can.
It should really be right now if you care.
Right. If you're a caring human being.
Does guilting anyone work anymore?
I don't think so. No, I really don't. Well,
if you love your country, you should download it right now. But if you don't, you could wait.
If you stand with the freedom fighters,
that's right.
You will download now.
That's right.
And you can listen when and where you want. All right. One of the problems is, and we played the NBC from the NBC News, the report from their reporter at the border saying, look, we've been covering this. This really isn't, the Biden thing isn't going to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
The executive order. That's a problem. I mean, because NBC is MSNBC.
Yeah.
And so everybody knows. Everybody knows this isn't going to do anything. He got slammed from the left. He got slammed from the right. CNN, for example, talked about just how, and it's really amazing. Do you know that in July of 2020, you know that Biden had a 1.2 advantage on Trump on immigration. Yeah,
Really?
I think it was. I think he's 1 point. Biden had a 1 point lead over Trump on the issue of border security. Now Trump has a 27-point lead. Here's part of that report from yesterday.
Take a look at this question. Again, the trend line here is so telling. Would Biden or Trump do a better job on border security / immigration? You go back 4 years ago to June of 2020. Joe Biden held it within the margin of error, but still a slight lead at plus 1 point over Donald Trump on the issue of border security and immigration. Take a look now at May of 2024. Look at this movement in Donald Trump's direction. Now he is trusted on the issue of border security and immigration versus Joe Biden by a 27-point margin. That is nearly a 30-point jump. You know, there have been a lot of issues that have been moving in the former president's direction during the course of this campaign, but I can't really find a single issue that has moved more towards Donald Trump versus 4 years ago than this particular issue. Again, when you're dealing with something that's now one of the nation's top problems, according to the American public, and an issue that's moving very much towards the former president, you can definitely see why the current president, Joe Biden, felt like he needed to act, because at this particular point, the issue of border security and immigration is truly hurting Joe Biden's reelection chances.
Now, with most of the networks, you know, saying, look, this isn't really going to do anything. The reporters at the border. I'm not talking about the talking heads, because the talking heads are still going to say, see, Biden is now going to close the border. But as soon as you say that, remember, they're so far left, they don't want the border being closed.
Right.
Like on The View, they don't want the border being closed. They want to bring on the squad, and the squad is basically, what was it, J.L. Paul yesterday saying it's the same xenophobic response from Biden as it was from Trump.
Yeah.
So the fact is, as we know, and Ted Cruz said it earlier, that whether it's John Tester in Montana, who's viewed as a moderate, he's not a moderate on immigration. He's as radical as you can get. He doesn't want to solve the problem, but he goes back to Montana, as Bob Casey does to Pennsylvania, and they vote no to do anything to really stop illegal immigration in this country or to control or secure the border, and they go back, and they're able to convince enough people in their states to vote for them, even though they're saying one thing and doing another. They go back to their states and they say, no, we're trying to do everything we possibly can, and they're not. They're pulling a Biden. Biden hasn't gotten away with it ever. He didn't get away with it. No. He didn't get away with it when he tried to say it was Trump's fault, and he's not going to get away with it by saying that he's solving the problem that the Republican Party can't solve. He's not going to get away with that. I don't think it's going to work for him. I wouldn't be surprised if on the border security, Trump actually goes up a few more points. It's hard when you're up by that many, when you're up by 27. Yeah. It's up because that's about the maximum you can ever be on any particular issue in this country, maybe beyond what you could be for any other issue in this country. But I wouldn't be surprised if it stays the same or even increases, because I think everybody's turned off Biden where they know he's a pathological liar. And I think that he tries to market that he's in the center. I'm in the center when it comes to Israel. Netanyahu is indiscriminately bombing.
Yeah.
Then they go to the generals. Is there any kind of genocide or indiscriminate bombing from Israel? Not that we can tell. No, we don't see anything at all.
Right.
And then he's got to back off. He constantly will attack Israel, then back off because public opinion is against it. But he's trying to test out, and he's trying to massage the far left and the anti-Semites and the Jew haters out there. That's what he's trying to do. Well, and it's not working for him.
No, it's not. And I said earlier that I think it has the potential on the border thing, the executive order, to do the opposite, work in the opposite direction of the polls. And I guess we'll see. So I'm with you on that. And I think because people don't live, not everybody lives in the bubble of today. Seemingly, this president and administration and his campaign does, because they don't seem to remember just a few minutes ago him saying, I can't do anything. I can't do anything. I need Congress to do it.
So let's go to Speaker Johnson yesterday as the Republicans in the House talked about Biden's so-called executive order to secure the, I can't even say it
Yeah.
with a serious face, to secure the border.
Yeah.
On other issues, I just want to tell you one important number, 126. 126. It was 126 days ago today that Joe Biden said, quote, "I've done all I can do." He was asked about why he wouldn't use his extensive executive authority to address the border catastrophe that he himself created. And 126 days ago, he looked into the cameras and said, I'm out of options. I've done all I can do. He tried to convince us all for all this time that there was no way he could possibly fix the mess. Remember that he engineered it. When Congressman Siscomani said a few moments ago, he began this on the day he took office over 3.5 years ago. He walked into the Oval Office and he started issuing executive orders, dozens of them. We counted 64 specific executive actions that President Biden and Secretary Mayorkas took to open that border wide. They did it intentionally. They engineered the open border. There's no question about it. The evidence is so clear. And now, suddenly, now he wants to issue some weak executive order. One executive order, supposedly to try to address the issue. It's window dressing. Everybody knows it. If he was concerned about the border, he would have done this a long time ago. And we don't know what's in this. The devil will definitely be in the details here, I can assure you. But from what we're hearing, it will ignore multiple elements that have to be addressed, the elements that were in our legislation that we passed over 14 months ago, to fix the broken asylum program, to fix the broken parole process, to reinstate the Remain in Mexico policy, to end the catch and release policy that they've advanced. Those are the reasons that this catastrophe has been allowed to continue. And whatever little short measure that he's going to do here is not going to solve the problem. In fact, by some estimates, it might make it worse because it will extend once again the welcome mat. Incentivize people to come and be among the first 2,500 is what we're hearing. The first 2,500 per day to come in. To be ensured that you get your welcome package when you come into the country illegally. It's absolute madness. They're going to say he's using Section 212F of the Immigration and Nationality Act. You know what? I read him that provision myself on the telephone a year ago. 7 months ago, I know, after I became Speaker, we had this conversation. I told him this. First, he tried to tell me it didn't exist. Then I read him the language on the phone. Later, I met with him in person, reiterated the same language. And that provision is so broad, it allows the president to use his authority unilaterally if he determines it to be in the best interest of the country. If it's detrimental to the interest of our country, he can close the border down entirely. He's not going to do that. He has no interest in doing that. They want it wide open. So this weak measure here, don't be fooled. One executive order can in no way undo the 64 specific executive actions he's already taken and 3.5 years of chaos that they've allowed to ensue. House Republicans, on the other hand, stand with the American people, and we've been fighting on this every single day to protect the border. We passed H.R. 2, the most comprehensive border protection measure that's ever been passed by Congress, still sitting on Chuck Schumer's desk collecting dust 14 months later. We passed the Lake and Riley Act after violent crimes and even murders have been committed by the illegals in the country. We passed legislation to deport illegals who commit crimes here, like drunk driving and Social Security fraud and assaulting law enforcement officers. We passed resolution after resolution. And we ultimately impeached Secretary Mayorkas at DHS.
There you go. And now they're moving in our direction. Yeah. He said it just like Ted Cruz did.
Yep.
They created this problem. Yep. Now, you can extend this to all the other issues. You can extend it to inflation.
Yep, easy.
You can extend it, as we have talked about before, to crime in the cities. You can extend it, as we know, to lawfare. Mm-hmm. You can extend it to the radical transgender movement. You can extend it to what they're doing to the grid and EVs and the cost of cars and helping to destroy the grid and destroy our economic, energy, and national security. They're doing it across the border. You need to do it, Republicans, and you don't need to give us credit here on Red Eye. Simply, we just wish to see the commercial.
And money.
And no, I don't even want the money.
Eric wants money.
I don't want money.
Gary doesn't want money. Send Gary's money to Eric.
Yeah, I want no money. I just want to hear the commercial and hear it played over and over again. Joe Biden and the Democrats can't and won't solve the problems we face today because they created them. And what you see right now, how your life has become so much worse, is exactly what they want.
Yep, and they're getting closer. We are hearing parts of it.
Yeah, we're hearing it more. They're picking individual things and saying, well, they can't solve it. They caused it.
Mm-hmm.
Make it into a complete ad across the board.
Yep.
And just list all the different other issues in there.
Right.
But primarily inflation and the border, because those are the two biggest. And by the way, when they say the economy, it's the same thing.
Right.
I know when they say inflation, the economy, and what was the other one?
Well, because the
inflation,
economy,
and
if you break it down, what is it with the economy? Well, it's the inflation.
The inflation.
People aren't struggling to find jobs; they can find jobs. They're struggling to make ends meet because of inflation.
Right. But you just do that ad right there.
Yep.
And behind the ad, they can't solve the problem because they created the problem, and this is what they want. And what you do is the Democrats spend, or the Democrats are warned not to spend this money by the Obama economist.
Yes.
Who said this is going to cause major inflation, and it did. You get those little news items behind it, you put it together, you package it together, and you sell to the American people that, look, by us doing nothing, things get better, because what they're doing is actually creating executive orders and legislation to make things worse.
Mm-hmm.
So you're putting them into office to solve problems. They're creating the problems.
Yep.
There's so many different ways you can market this idea.
Yeah.
And they should do it now. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. And I will say this, too. The administration got to the point of gaslighting again yesterday when they came out and said, since the Republicans won't do anything, I'm forced to do so. And then the questions are going to be asked to Karine Jean-Pierre. Wait a minute. He just said 126 days ago there's nothing he can do.
Right.
That there were no executive orders that he could put in. Now he's saying there is. And then everybody's going to be questioning every single aspect, because the mainstream media is already questioning, has the questions, wait a minute, this isn't going to stop anything. So he's putting out executive orders saying secure the border. We believe he's lying.
Well, that's it. It's clearly a political move, like the student loan thing, buying your votes, lying, pretending to do something about the border that he broke. Painfully obvious to the average person. That's why the mainstream media looks at this and says, yeah, no.
Did Trump comment on yesterday?
I thought I saw something. I don't know if it was
maybe
related
something
to
on
the
Truth
executive
Social.
order.
Yeah,
I can't remember what it was, but, I imagine he did.
Well, he owns as CNN put out, he absolutely owns the issue of border control. And as we read a month ago from Roy Teixeira and Douglas Schoen, both Democrats, both one a pollster, one a longtime consultant, both saying that on the border and on other issues, the Democrats have to become much more MAGA.
Right.
I mean, that was, we couldn't believe we were going, am I reading this right?
You need to build a wall.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Not only should the presidential candidates be drug tested, I have to be, because I'm reading this here, and this doesn't make any sense.
What Biden should do is make America great again.
Yeah, it's like, what?
Yeah.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.